afternoon and welcome back to Laurel Park. Thank you for joining us here on Today at the Races. I'm your host, Gabby Gaudette, joined by Vinny Perrone, a new face on the TV. Welcome, Vinny.
A new face, an old fossil. Thank you, Gabby. I'm sorry the kid who mulches your shrubs wasn't available to do the handicapping today, but I'm glad you worked your way down the list to get to me.
I'm definitely excited for you to join me here on Today at the Races, of course. An Eclipse Award-winning writer. I'm very happy to be in your presence as well. How does it feel to be in the hot seat today?
It feels a little disorienting. Yeah. I must say. Well, I usually hang in the shadows when my wife lets me out of the hatchway, you know, and so being front and center is an unaccustomed place, but we'll try to make the best of it.
It's funny you say that because my first job in media horse racing, in terms of media and the horse racing industry, was for the Saratoga Special as a writer, and it was kind of an interesting transition going from writing, asking the questions, and things like that, to being on air and kind of hosting and then asking questions in a different way and handicapping, analyzing races. So we'll get through it. You're a very intuitive handicapper as well.
Well, that would be a minority viewpoint, of course, but you know, it's especially disorienting too to not only be here with you. I mean, it's like an operatic diva with a guy who pulls the gum off the bottom of the seats after the performance. So
absolutely not. No, it's going to be a very fun day, Vinny. We've got a lot to get to, and first, I guess we should start off by saying Trevor McCarthy is off all of his mounts today, and we will have an influx of rider changes throughout the afternoon as Trevor McCarthy was unseated from his mount after yesterday's fourth race, actually winning the race and then becoming unseated. He won 3 races on yesterday's card, and talking to his agent, Scotty Silver, just saying that just taking a cautious approach here. He's has a little bit of soreness in his right knee and hopefully being back in the next couple of days.
Yeah, the way Silver described it, it didn't seem like it was anything that was going to keep Trevor out for a long period of time. And this is more or less precautionary. I just know from being in a family that deals in kneecap injuries, you know, they can vary in terms of recovery time, but his doesn't seem so bad as the kind my relatives inflict.
Okay, well, that is Trevor McCarthy. He is off all mounts today, but we will get into some of our carryovers and featured wagers as well. And we have a nice carryover in the Rainbow Six. We had a carryover yesterday in the Pick 5. It was a very tough sequence to tackle, but someone did tackle it yesterday, and it actually paid dividends. No Super High Five carryover today. We'll take a look here now. No Super High Five wagering. Actually, in the first 2 races, you need at least 7 or more betting interests in order to partake in that wager. So we skip to race 3 in terms of the rolling Super High Five, but we do kick off the Rainbow Six in race 5 today. That carryover $14,000, and the late Pick 5 carryover $0 in that. Vinny, yesterday we actually started a new wager, and that was the early Pick 5. It's a mandatory payout, races 1 through 5, and kind of a fun wager. I'm familiar because they introduced this down in South Florida over the winter, and it's fun kind of to introduce this new wager to the Laurel Summer Meet.
Right, and it juxtaposes the late Pick 5, and that, as you said, it's going to be paid out. So there are no carryover provisions. If nobody hits more than 3 of 5, then you're going to cut up whatever that day's pot is.
Absolutely.
So, you know, for those of you who can pick more than 1 in a row, I urge you to please proceed.
Please try. Please try. Today's sequence is fun. I will have a ticket there for race 1. And looking outside, it's a little bit overcast today, but it's beautiful weather. It cooled off a lot kind of later in the evening yesterday, and that's kind of transitioned onto this afternoon as well. We can see we are fast and firm on the turf. It's funny because I live a couple miles south from here, and we got a lot of rain, but it looks like Laurel was pretty much untouched.
Looks like it. I live about 8 miles from here, and I didn't hear any rain. I mean, I have some neighbors who dance on their roof in the middle of the night, but I think that's what I heard, not the pitter-patter of raindrops.
Absolutely. We have 80s, as you can see, track fast and firm. 1:25 p.m. first post. So should we get straight to it here, Vinny? We started off with race 1. Once again, no Super High Five wagering. But I did come up with a ticket. I need to do a little bit better than I did yesterday, especially in the multi-race sequences. It's not easy when you have a limited budget. I am spending a little bit more today, though, in the early Pick 5, $67.50 there. in the early pick 5, going with the 3, 6, 7 in the first leg with all. It's a 5-horse field, so just covering myself because you could probably make a case for a couple in those. And we don't want to get out in the second leg. As we move along, we do the 5, 10, and 12, 3, 4, 7, and keying off of Emelina, the number 4 in the 5th race. I took a different approach, obviously, because your ticket's cheaper in the pick 6 and you can afford to spread because it's a 20-cent based wager. So in the pick 6, I took it a different approach in race 5, adding another horse. But in the early pick 5, I'll key off of Emelina.
Well, you're all about value betting, and one appreciates that. Talking about how you're trying to keep the size of your wagers contained. These turf races are often so competitive. I mean, it's hard really to just skim the surface. You want to go deep in at least one or two of the races because, as we see day after day, odd things happen.
Odd things happen, including yesterday with Uno Amayo, who was actually entered in today. They tried the turf yesterday and found the winner's circle. Rudy Rodriguez and Victor Carrasco paying dividends there. So that's just kind of one of those tricky horses that winds up kicking you out of the sequence. So it does pay to approach this in a serious manner. We'll take off with race 1 here. 5.5 furlongs on the main track for this $5,000 claimer. And, I kind of hedged between two particular horses, between the 3 Mountain Hero and the 6 Andy Picked Me. I'm going to the 3 Mountain Hero primarily because I think he's just hindered by an off surface. You look at his 2 races on an off track, muddy sealed track last time out, not a good outcome, and his race 3 starts ago as well. But he quickly found the winner's circle on a fast main track, and that was against $16,000 non-winners of 2 lifetime conditions. So he is getting a slight drop in class here. Benny, you landed on the 6 in here instead, Andy Picked Me.
I did. I just want to say a couple things about Mountain Hero, and I fully agree with you that his 2, we might call dreadful races in his last 3, both on off surfaces, as you noted. Ricky Silliman claims the horse for 10. The horse wins first out for Ricky and makes $12,500. So they're out on the horse, virtually. And so to me, in that context, the drop to a nickel is less of a negative. However, it still seems pretty precipitous to me. I tend to avoid these kinds of horses. I mean, they seem obvious, and I know Ricky from way back. We played softball and back here in the gravel pit at Laurel 25 years ago, and he's really competent. But the drop is disconcerting to me nonetheless. I went with Andy Picked Me. His last race, he got shuffled back into the turn. He was steadied along for a few strides and still closed with a flourish, I thought. And, my thought was, geez, Cal Lynch, we ascribe him generally to having higher class of horse, and whatnot. But I looked at the research. I did some research over the past 5 years. He's 23% with 10,000 claimers or lower. So he basically is winning with all class of horse. And Mountain Man is a horse, the 4-horse, that intrigues me. We saw him last year here when he was just sort of breaking his mate and getting started. And he was fabulous. He was doing his best running right here at Laurel Park last summer. Makes me think of my cousin Bobo, who would only commit misdemeanors in the warm weather months. He basically did his best work outside of wintertime. And so Mountain Man kind of, went off track in the winter. Casey Cartagena gets him, and he comes back, and I don't know if this is by intentional or not, but he sort of changed his style. And we see this from time to time with certain horses. They start out as sort of one-dimensional speed horses, and then maybe with time and seasoning, they get to relax a little bit. And he came from behind last time. In fact, tracked Andy Picked Me through the lane. Perez lost his whip in that race. The horse was still closing. I thought Andy Picked Me was pretty resolute. So I like them basically to run that same race back.
Okay, and you go 6, 4, 7 there. I'll also throw in the 7 to the outside, who has that controlling outside position as we move right along to race 2. Once again, no super high 5 wagering in the second. 7 furlongs onto the main track for this open $15,000 race. As previously mentioned, the 2 Uno Amayo scratched out of here, as well as the 4 Crazy Wild Bill. And you're left with kind of definitely a smaller field here, but the 3 Mr. Game 7 was one who really intrigued me, primarily because, yes, he has a little bit of speed on the main track in between, the 3/4 distance and even farther than that, but he also has shown the ability to rate. And although he does have some experience going the 7 7 furlongs, and I thought it was actually a very good second place finish because Uncle Teddy went wire to wire and kind of average time a few starts back, but he just looks like a horse that can manage this middle distance, although he does have limited experience at it. He's shown that he can carry his speed going 2 turns up to a mile and a 16th and be effective sprinting at 3/4.
No, I agree. I picked him for largely the same reasons. He is pretty versatile. I'm going to forgive his last race, a mile on the turf. Now he's back going 7/8. He likes Laurel, a win in a second and 2 starts. And another thing to note, they haven't been writing a lot of these kinds of races. This is a straight 3-year-old race, right? So when Mr. Game 7 won the condition-beaten race the day that Jerry Robb claimed him, he beat older horses. And Hey Willie has run well against older horses too, the 5 horse whom I picked second. And to me, You Got It, the Rudy Rodriguez 7 horse, looks, again, suspicious. He wins for 20,000, beats 3-year-olds at Aqueduct 2 races back, and now is in for 11, did not step up off that race. The horse, to me, I mean, I just construe that a negative. Flowers for Lisa, perhaps slightly less negative, gets Santino today. McCarthy was named. But I like Mr. Game 7 for the reasons you enunciated. Very, very tactical. And 2 races back got bobbled at the start, kind of lost his footing, and still was pretty tenacious.
And you see a horse like the 5 Hey Willie, who I think has no other option but to go. His best running is when he does kind of make the lead on or just off of the pace here. And unfortunately, at 7/8, a few starts back on a sloppy sealed track, he had to face the likes of Twisted Earl, who we have seen kind of plummet off the face of the cliff. But at the same time, he is very fast early, so he wasn't quite as fast as him going 7/8 a few starts back. So I like him for those premises as well. And I agree with you. The 7 You Got It. Yes, he went wire to wire going a mile against open $20,000 claimers most recently. Maybe that took a little starch out of him in a subsequent start where it was kind of a subpar performance, but I can't trust him. Yeah, he gets the outside post position, but I just think there's faster early horses, and he's going to have to show a new dimension.
Yeah, your point on Hey Willie is apt because there is not an abundance of speed in here. I mean, he could go right to the front and may be able to carry it for a considerable way.
All right, we'll move on to the 3rd race on the card. This does kick off our rolling super high 5 wagering, and we head out to the Dahlia, the first of our turf races at a mile and a 16th. And I wanted to start off with a replay out of town at Delaware where we have 2 horses coming out of the same race. One of them being the 9 Cryptos Holiday and the 10 Hardly Home. You can see different post positions here in this particular race, but they both had to break from the way outside post. And as you can see, going that distance at Delaware, you kind of break right into the turn. It's an awkward configuration sometimes. So both of them had to kind of take back and lose their position immediately exiting the gate, trying to save ground as soon as possible. And if we go revert back to the stretch run, they're going to go through the first turn, and we can see, I believe it was Cryptos Holiday kind of a little bit wider and Hardly Home saving a little bit more of ground. But once we get to actually the stretch run, Shug McGahee's horse, Hardly Home, I thought saved all the ground, whereas Cryptos Holiday was kind of left out in the middle of the racetrack, and I thought just kind of got a little bit lost in that race.
No, that's you illuminated really some of the reasons I like Cryptos Holiday in this race. I thought going against Hardly Home, he got the worst of the trip. You're right, that start at Delaware Park when there's a big field like that is very disadvantageous to the outside horses. And he gets Lasix today, and he needed that race. He'd been off 7 months or so, 8 months before that. So, I think he's going to get first run in here. And again, he's hung outside a bit, so was Hardly Home today, but they won't be quite as close to the turn to begin.
And here's where you can really see it. The number 9 is way in the middle of the racetrack, whereas Hardly Home is closing like a freight train down on the inside. But he did save every bit of ground, and I thought it was an excellent ride by Trevor McCarthy to save that ground. And he was starting to pick up the pieces late. So I think in terms of these 2 horses and your preference, you have to analyze that replay and think, okay, well, who ran the tougher race? Who was wider? Who was more game? And then that might create a clearer picture. I went against actually both of them because I thought, you look at a horse like Brucarita at 3-1, you look at Hardly Home 4-1. These two horses will be bet from the connections alone. Copper Wire intrigues me from the outside because this is a horse who might need one off the layoff. We haven't seen him since mid-December, but in a race where his two main competitors are deep dead-end closers, he has outside controlling speed, and I thought he could maybe take advantage from that point alone.
No, you're right. I mean, if you look at the race, number 2, Aquatine, looks like he's pretty early, and number 6, Missed on the Mosca, looks like they could be the contending speed. Copper Wired, certainly from the 12 hole, X-Man has the opportunity to get position and avoid a real roundabout first turn. There are no real demerits for this horse. The horse is pretty tactical. To me, the post position is not great. But I can certainly see this horse really being in a garden spot off the first two.
And you like the 5 Brucarita a little bit, and this is a horse that I kept on teetering on because you look at his race and when he debuted, he was 24-1 against maiden claimers in debut at Gulfstream. He came back to be the 3-1 favorite against maiden special weight company at Keeneland, and after that, of course, a very heavy favorite last time out. And I just thought he fell a little bit flat. Maybe the argument is that he'll improve second off the layoff.
Well, he's a kitten's joy. He certainly has the means to. To me, he's a bit slow, and from the 5 hole, he may need a little bit of luck to be able to get clear for his stretch run.
Okay, we'll get to the 4th race here, and this going out to the all-along turf course, at 5.5 furlongs, and really nice 2 other than allowance optional claimer. And I thought maybe multiple different ways to go, Vinny. We'll start with the replay of Indian Buck. So last time out, the number 7 horse in this race, but number 3 in the race on the 10th of June. And we'll start from the top, and you can see him kind of take back a little bit. And he is just absolutely licking his chops at this pace battle that is ensuing in front of him. You can see the number 5 down on the inside, dueling with the number 8 just to the outside. Debt Ceiling and War and Thunder, 2 actually very fast horses on the dirt and the turf, so you'd figure that they would set kind of contentious fractions. They went 21 and change for the opening quarter, and we can see visually when horses close like this, usually they're guided by the fact that the pace falls apart. It doesn't look like Indian Bucks is going to get any piece of this race, and then he just absolutely flips the switch and, as I said, closes like a freight train just to get up at the wire. You can see him still several lengths off the pace, but rider Jevion Toledo just not giving up. And I thought it was a bit of an optical illusion, Vinny. Maybe I'm approaching this with a little bit of pessimism, but I thought it really set up for him.
Well, it did. And he figures to be the favorite and maybe a solid favorite in here today. And of course, one's proclivity is to try to go against the favorite. I mean, that's why we're here. I like Triple Burner. I mean, this horse has just been transformed on the turf. And I go back to some of his turf sprints here last year. You see that look a horse gets. I see that look with my in-laws, like at a buffet table. Seriously, they pin their ears and they cannot be stopped. You cannot believe these people. It is quite the
just
spectacle.
Tenacious.
That's it. And this horse is just relishes the turf. Linda Albert, we don't really ascribe as a turf trainer, but the last couple of years she has been audacious with her ROI on turf, and this horse just loves it. He and Chief Exchanger, your selection in this race, actually came out of the same race, and they ran very close to one another. The pool winner race, Triple Burner just got the edge, but Triple Burner was stuck outside in that race. I thought ran the better race, and I just absolutely love his prospects today.
Well, you could be onto something here because Linda Albert, as you said, bats at about 20% with her turf sprinters and a positive ROI over $5. Now, I took the different approach with Chief Exchanger. You look at his race when he did go against Triple Burner, and that was the first time coming off a layoff since December. So maybe the argument comment was that maybe he needed one, but still, he ran a superb race. I thought both horses ran a superb race, actually, and it almost looked like he might have been a little bit short for that race because visually it looked like he just started to teeter in the latter half of the stretch. But that said, he's had a couple races since then under his belt. Now gets back to a preferred surface, in my opinion, and he's one that should be able to sit a little bit closer to the pace. You go 5-4. I should have respected Triple Burner a little bit if I do like, obviously, Chief Exchanger.
Well, you need to understand. People tell me I'm wrong a lot, so.
Okay. Well, we
Stick
shall
to your
see.
school.
We shall see. With that is races 1 through 4. We are going to take a quick break, and when we come back, we're going to talk about the Rainbow Six. We have a nice carryover over $14,000. I have a ticket for the Rainbow Six. You have a ticket for the Pick 5, and we'll get to it right after this.
Don't miss Maryland's Day at the Races, Saturday, October 22nd at Laurel Park. Come party with friends on Jim McKay Maryland Million Day. It's the celebration of Maryland's horses. Great fun for fans of all ages. Gates open at 11 for an exciting day of racing. Great entertainment on the track and a collector's cap, too. Don't miss out on the fun at Laurel Park, Saturday, October 22nd. For more information, visit MarylandMillion.com or MarylandRacing.com. See you at the races.
Welcome back to Today at the Races. Gabby Gaudette joined by Vinny Perrone, and looking at the Rainbow Six, we have a carryover $14,000. It was tough yesterday. It was tough the day before. Honestly, today, comparable to the past 2 racing cards, I thought was a little bit more manageable, and my ticket is a little bit on the smaller side. So we'll take a look at that here. Hopefully we can get close to tackling that 14,000. We have 4-5 in the first leg of the sequence. Of course, in my early pick 5, I keyed off of Emelina, but I also kind of like the 5 in this race to kick it off. Lizzie, she's coming out of some very nice 2 other than races, and I think from a class perspective, she could be an interesting play. We move along to race 6 with the 3-7-9, 4-6, 3-6, spreading in race 9 with 5 runners in there and capping it off with the 9 and the 12. I know you like Mesmerize. I took a peek at your late pick 5, and I think you'll be singling on that one. So I do love her in the final leg, but I love a horse at a nice price with the 9, who we'll get to in just a few moments. But $48 is the play without a single. And fingers crossed we can get as far as we can, Vinny.
I'm riding your coattails.
Okay, we'll start it off here with race 5. We'll take a look at Emelina's performance, and that was 2 starts back. Of course, she did try the turf last time out, stepping up against Allowance Company, and we saw her go against Arrogane and obviously Broken Bridle, who came back to run yesterday as well and just was narrowly defeated. But this was on the dirt, and this was probably one of the best performances I've seen her run on the main track in quite a while. Yes, she did get everything go her way, but she really just drew away from the field. I thought setting her up for perhaps a big performance on the turf. She's just as versatile as they come.
Well, this was an impressive race. Again, Emelina figures to be a favorite and perhaps a stout favorite today. She's in really good form. I mean, perhaps the best form of her career. She's versatile, as you say. She can run, she can turf or dirt. But I expect her to get a little more pressure in here today,
I agree.
and hence I feel some vulnerability for her. I mean, Lightning Fast Girl is pretty early, and she's in light, and she's inside of Emelina, and Emelina clearly is a different horse when she's able to get out, comfortable lead, relaxed. Lizzie is, you know, a bit of a sleeper in here, although given the shortness of the field, she's not going to be the value she might otherwise be. But I thought she would have the chance to lay pretty close in here today, and she's really been running against some better horses. On the go back, she beats Emelina by 6 lengths. Or more, 13 lengths actually, if you go back to a March race right here. So, you know, just looking for value, I think Lizzie will be the better horse for the price than Emelina.
And I agree with you. That's why I'm using her protectively in the pick 6 there with Lizzie. She is coming out of better races, and yes, maybe she will fit the pace flow in this race as well. But my only concern with, I guess it's There's two ways to approach this. Sometimes when you get shorter fields and there's so much speed in here, the gap is sometimes unmanageable for these horses to close from off of it. So I think the key is for Lizzie to break well and find herself closer to some of these speed types in order to win. But at the same time, sometimes we see that pace come back to the field, going the 1-turn mile, getting to that second wire finish. They start to get a little bit weary-legged in the latter half of the stretch.
No, absolutely. No, I would prefer Taylor Hole to maybe rustle her up a little early and have her a little closer to the lead.
Ready
for
to
sure.
go,
Yep.
yeah. So going 4-5 there, we switch things around, but the 3, I don't know, Go Ask Annie going to be using there as well. She's coming, she had a drop in order to win last time out, but she's got some back numbers going against Allowance Company. We'll move on to race 6, and this does kick off the late pick 5. We kick it off on the Dahlia Turf Course at 5.5 furlongs for the starter optional claimer. And Vinny, you do have a ticket for the late pick 5. You took a stab at it, and a nice cheap ticket.
Well, thank you. We try to keep our costs down for all bettors, because those who just want to play a $27 ticket can. Those who want to embellish on this ticket, or perhaps use none of them if they're at all wise and insightful, that's fine too. But yeah, so we start off here with the 2, 9, 10 in this race. This is a turf sprint. The 9 Magician's Bullet figures to be the favorite in here. You know what I wish? I wish Kieran McGee had been around like when I was growing up. No, because I think about the times like I got kicked out of the house. You know, if he had been around, I could have gone to his house and look at the improvement I might have made. I mean, these horses find their way to him, and all of a sudden they're just transformed.
Better grades,
right?
better life.
Oh, but
who knows?
That second time through the 6th grade, I'd have made it. Seriously.
Exactly.
Okay.
I hear you. He improves these horses. But and you know what? You make a good point. Magician's Bullet. First off the claim with turf sprinters with Kieran McGee. It's a limited sample. He's only 3 for 16, 19% over the past couple of years. Positive ROI of $4.14. It changes with his horses going long on the turf, lower statistics, but overall, you look at a trainer that just bats at such a high percentage with his claims, but primarily they're on the dirt, either sprinting or going long.
No, absolutely. I think the conoscenti, that would be the people in the know, would agree that Kieran, especially with his claims, does best on dirt. After that would be turf sprints. After that would be turf routes. So he claims Magician's Bullet for 16 out of a beaten race from Mike Trombetta. And the horse's speed figures, if you believe in them, puts him right there anyway, absent any expected improvement. I found an intriguing horse in here, Gabby, the 2 Proud to Say, whom I picked. And you go back to his debut. He's had 4 starts. He's had only 1 start sprinting on the turf. That was his debut. It was bet down to 5-1, 25,000 maiden claimer. And he got off poorly and really flew home, I thought. And it was an exceptionally professional effort. After that, he gets 3 route races. You know, I'm not a big proponent of going long off of 1 sprint to begin with. Clearly, the distance seemed beyond his scope. Also, that the turf race, last 2 turf races were on soft turf. So this is going to be a firmer course today, more akin to the one he debuted on. And I'm going to give him a shot at double-digit odds.
Okay, I like it. I like a price there. I went to the 7 Daily News, who I thought should really improve, going 5.5 furlongs today. I think he's one that just needs a little bit more time to find his gears at the top of the stretch versus 5 furlongs that he did go against last time out. Not to mention that was a good race. Just Jack, we'll see later this weekend, stretching out. We saw Blue Moon Ace, the next out winner on the turf as well. But rolling right along here, Vinny, we get to race 7, starting the late pick 4, 7 furlongs onto the main track. And I have a late pick 4 ticket here to show you, and a nice affordable ticket, $30 is the late pick 4. 3, 4, 6 with the 3, 6, once again spreading in race 9, and then capping it off with the 9 and 12 in today's finale. We start with the 3, 4, 6 in the first leg, though, and we have the likes of Hollywood Ace in here for Gerald Brooks, and I thought that this horse is kind of it's hard to overlook given his record at the distance.
Yeah, absolutely. Again, Trevor was scheduled to ride him. Fergal Lynch is going to get on him today. He's 3 for 7 at the distance, 5 out of 7 in the money. He's a good horse. I mean, I went with Peppermint Prince because, again, it's 7/8. This is a race that is not overwrought with speed. I thought he might be able to get right on the lead. He's never been off the board at 7/8, and I think he can perhaps control the pace again at maybe a second or third choice.
Okay, and the 6 DNA Approve, I think, is a sneaky horse at 8-1. I love this horse today because he showed so much more improved speed, stretching out to 2 turns last time out, and overall a very good performance, outrunning his odds at 19-1. And actually, his record at the distance isn't too bad, 4 for 4 in the money, and he's a horse that I think will go overlooked.
Absolutely, no. I think he poses an attractive value in here.
All right, we'll get to race 8, another starter optional claimer going to the all along at a mile and a 16th. And researching some statistics, we have a horse like the 8 Queeb, who is probably going to be a short price on the morning line. I think she might even be 3-1. Dale Capuano with his horses stretching out on the turf from sprints to routes. 3 for 33, 9%, and a negative ROI of 95 cents. So that kind of swayed me enough to stick to the 6 Beaches and Bourbon. Linda Albert, we're hoping that she's going to have a good day today on the
Go
turf.
Linda.
We should hold signs. Go Linda Albert, because I thought this horse ran a very credible performance last time out, and I think she gets another good setup once again today.
Well, the first time through the grandstand, past the grandstand on the turf course, I mean, she was snatched up for 4 or 5 strides, and to Karamanos' credit, he didn't panic thereafter. He didn't rush her. He knew he had 2 turns, and I mean, she was phenomenal, I thought. I mean, a very professional race off of 1 dirt sprint. And boy, if she can run anything close to that, she will be a force in here.
And we have horses. She should get that paceful that she wants in front of her because of horses like Queeve to the outside who are stretching out. Horses like the 4 Doug's Tory, who's going to be forwardly placed in here. And I think if you look at 2 horses that come out of similar races with the one Fed Up, Fired Up, and Fire the Nurse, you have to decide who you like better. Personally, I like Fire the Nurse. She's beaten her before in the past, and she has positional speed.
Agreed. Tommy Proctor put the blinkers on her 2 back, and she's clearly become a better filly because of that. And she'll be tough in here, likely the favorite.
I just went 3-6 in there too in the Rainbow 6, but also using the I believe just the 3-6 in the late pick 4 as well. We get to the first half of the late daily double with race 9, a 2 other than allowance optional claimer going 7 furlongs there onto the main track, and another race that I thought maybe you have to spread a little deeper in, and maybe you had a difference in opinion than I did, but I thought this was a very wide open race. We have the 8 Demon Buster last time out finishing 2nd, which we'll go back and look at this replay. He was coming off of freshening since early April and going against 2 other than company once again. This was when they put the blinkers on him for the first time, Vinny, and he found himself kind of in mid-pack. Edgar Prado was aboard that day, once again aboard today. We saw Bullets Fever coming from out of town. I believe he was running races at Charlestown and Mountaineer, and he actually is now undefeated in 6 starts. So maybe a horse that had a little bit of form to him, and Demon Buster looks like he could improve second off the layoff.
No, I agree with you. I thought this was the best race on the card, the most intriguing race, the most appetizing betting race. I mean, these are good horses. It's essentially a 2 other than. And these are some salty sprinters for sure. I did not have Demon Buster on my ticket. I honestly, it's hard for me to wrap my stubby little arms around this horse. He did get the blinkers last time, and he improved, but he's very infrequently raced. I mean, he's a 5-year-old with 7 lifetime starts, which speaks some issues. They may be beyond him now. I picked Admiral's War Chest. I have to confess,
I love Admiral's War Chest too. I think he's a great horse, and you're going to get value on him.
Well, you're going to get value. I'd prefer it to be a mile. I don't think sprinting is really what he wants to do. But they brought him up to Monmouth for a stake, and he went against Bravester, whom we know is a horse of national import, and didn't have much shot in there. It was 50-1, but he loves Laurel, 7 out of 8 in the money. I think he's going to be on or near the lead in here, even at 7/8. And You know, he's been working stoutly. It's again a really good race. J-Rock is in fabulous form. Several of these other horses are really prominent.
I thought it was a tough ask, in my opinion, for Admiral's War Chest to come off the layoff and go against in eventually Grade 1 winners. I mean, Bradster went on to win the Grade 1 Stephen Foster next out, getting a 101 Beyer speed figure, and we saw Encryption come back to take a stakes at Parks, and he's actually Grade 2 place as well. So he's going against Grade 1, Grade 2 types of horses off of a layoff, and maybe you have to question kind of what that did to him in a sense, but at the same time, you know, he got a little bit of fitness out of it, now cutting back to 7/8 a track that he likes. He's a Maryland Million Classic winner.
And how do you not like him? And Corby Cayazzo's big horse, looking for his first win of the year.
Perhaps this will do it, but you make a good point with the Ford J-Rock. This is a horse who has been in extremely good form sprinting lately. He is 0 for 4 at this distance previously, but this is a horse who maybe just really found his sails recently.
Yeah, that's rather why I picked him second. I mean, his company lines are not as strong as a number of the other horses in this field, but he's really blossomed right now at the age of 4. And, you know, whatever Hugh McMahon is doing, it's working for this horse. Now, I'm hearing that some of his horses back there, like after hours, are like smoking e-cigarettes and listening to jazz and watching Phillies Gone Wild videos. But whatever it is, these horses are enlivened.
That sounds like a good scene, right?
I think so.
Well, the 9 Struth. Mike Trombetta is bringing out Struth, and he is, I thought, although that race came back a little bit lower in terms of the Beyer speed figures, and the race was maybe a little bit slower, now he's stretching out. But this horse showed a lot of precocity and a lot of talent earlier in his career. NASA was a horse who, at the time, looked like a really legitimate horse. I think he was even sold to Bill Mott, and I believe that's the horse that I'm thinking of, but it looked like a horse that had a lot of talent. So this is one that has to improve second off the layoff. But I think hats off to Mike Trombetta getting this horse ready off a 2.5-year layoff.
Well, this horse, actually, yeah. I mean, I was amazed with how well visually this horse ran. That was an explosive run through the lane after a year and a half off.
So that is my spread race. I used 5 horses in that leg of the sequence.
It's a good race to spread in.
I used your 3, I used your 4 and your 5, and I also used my 8 and 9. So hopefully we have it covered there.
Well, at least leaves the 1 and 7.
We sure hope so. Yes, that's always terrifying.
It happens.
We get to the final race today, and going out to the Dolly at 5.5 furlongs. I love a horse in here, Vinny, and that is the 9 Photo Gallery. So let me tell you about Photo Gallery. Tim Woolley, he bats at 25% with his turf routers cutting back to sprint distances. A positive ROI of $2.17, 50% in the money. This horse is going against better horses going long on the turf. If she can sprint at all, I think that gives her the upper hand. Quigley's Corner was a horse that came back to win an A other than at Penn National. 70 Beyer speed figure for that victory. Yes, she was well beaten Beyer, but she is dropping considerably in class. Last time this filly sprinted, she went against Grade 1 winner Miss Temple City in her 2-year-old season.
How about that? No, I think that's a great sniff out. You know, part of what we try to do here, of course, is to read between the lines and sniff out horses that are going to be under the radar and perhaps with a little built-in value. She certainly qualifies, although she's making a fairly sizable drop. But I love the homework that you did. Tim Woolley's given her 3 works since her last race in May. As you noted, his turf sprint record is excellent. I went with a horse trained by a certain Lacey Gaudette for this singular reason. The 1 Poco Loco and the 11 Flame of My Heart, who could be the favorite, are going to go out. Poco Loco's early. Flame of My Heart showed the way last time and just got beat at the wire at 5 furlongs. We're going an extra 16th here. She adds blinkers today. I'm not sure how much that's really going to help her, but Mesmerized from the 12 hole, coming off of roots, has just missed a turf sprint against comparable fillies. From the 12 hole, I think she's going to be able to sit. Carrasco draws them out from McCarthy's injury. he's going to be able to take the measure of them. I really like her prospects in here.
And she almost seems like a filly where the light bulb might have not clicked just yet. You look at her turf sprint races, and she did have a tendency, especially in debut, to be a little bit green. She almost found her wheels a little bit too late. She finally realized, oh, this is what I'm supposed to do. I'm supposed to run forward. I'm supposed to try to beat horses. But she does have a little bit of raw talent. And with that said, I do like the fact that she draws the outside post now cutting back, because she should be able to carve herself kind of just behind some of these speed types, or really Victor can place her wherever she really needs to be. But definitely like the cut back with her, because she just is not a two-turn distance.
No,
horse.
I think the condition fits, actually. And I just wanted to note the number 10 horse, Home to Carrickeel, who figures to be double-digit odds, at least in here. They put the blinkers on her. She is just a star-crossed filly. She runs into trouble almost every time, and perhaps will again, because she is a trouble magnet. But you know, if you're looking for a horse to complete the try or the super, give her a thought. May get some bang there.
I've had so many horses like that, especially turf sprinters, where they just always trouble haunts them. It just resonates on their shoulders.
It does.
Just never leaves.
It's like my Uncle Muzzy. You know, he's just always in a jackpot one way or another.
I'd love to have an Uncle Muzzy. That's a fun name. Anyway, Vinny, thank you for joining me on Today at the Races, and thank you all for joining us on Today at the Races as well. We have 10 races on tap. Plenty of wagering opportunities, $14,000 carryover in the Rainbow Six, which kicks off in race 5. Best of luck on today's card. We're going to get going, so Dave Rodman can come up with all those scratches and changes. But best of luck, and thank you once again for joining me.
Go Dave. Thanks, Gabby. Appreciate it.